Welcome to Read My Lips, a lively hour of unscripted conversations with savvy creatives about their creative passion, inspirational muses, and how they create. Ooh, how those lips can talk. Now, here's AKA Radio Red.
Brenda?
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Blast off! Welcome to Read My Lips for Teleco. I'm Bonnie D, aka Radio Red. This is the show where I talk to creatives. Creatives aren't necessarily artists and dancers and singers and photographers. They might be writers, they might be architects, they could be chefs or cooks, they could be clothing designers, they could be anybody, coaches, anybody who travels, even people who hike and play golf. You're creating something. So today I'm talking to Brenda Prater-Sellers. She's going to wave hello. And I have Jerry Morton, and I'm welcoming the both of you through the courtesy of the Authors Guild of Tennessee. I know it's East Tennessee, and the founder, Cheryl Payton, is now a friend of mine, and she was on this show a couple of weeks ago, and I'm glad that she introduced me to all of you people who are members. But let's go through a couple of things. Today, we're filming this, taping this on May 12th, 2023. Yes, we're almost at the halfway point of another year. We made it, kids. We're here. This is a good thing. So this is the 132nd day of 2023 in the Gregorian calendar. There are 233 days left in the year, and this is the 19th Friday. Now, that doesn't really matter to anybody but me. I count those days, you see. But I don't know if you know this, but Pope Gregory the 13th in 1582 didn't like the Julian calendar, so he modified it. He changed the leap year days. He just wanted it to be, he added one, he subtracted one. He did something every 400 years. He wasn't alive for 400 years. So I call Pope Gregory the Gregorian calendar. I think his mom, Jerry, probably called him Greg or Greggy and said, "What are you doing?" He said, "I'm changing the calendar. What do you want, Ma? I don't like it." So I call him one of the original early creatives. There you go. We are in the Western zodiac sign of Taurus, April 20th to May 21st. We're kind of, let's see, we're almost at the 3/4 away mark. Either one of you born in the sign of Taurus, Brenda or Jerry? Nope. Well, I will tell you that Taurians, you know, like a Toreador, well, they call them Taurians. They enjoy relaxing in serene, bucolic environments. Jerry, does that resonate with you? Serene and bucolic? Yeah. Brenda, you too? Brenda, you look to me like you wouldn't like a serene environment. They like to be surrounded by soft sounds, soothing aromas, and succulent flavors. That sounds good. The Taurus is ruled by Venus, making Taurus the most sensual of the zodiac. Well, there's something to aspire to. Taurians are steadfast, loyal, devoted friends and lovers, but they're stubborn. And they stay too long in unhealthy relationships, jobs, and homes just to prove a point. We'll leave that one alone. Some famous Taurians, you might be amused by this. Cher. Okay. Kelly Clarkson, Janet Jackson, Tina Fey, David Beckham. Let's see. We have Idina Menzel. Okay. We have Channing Tatum, who played Magic Mike. We have George Clooney, Be Still My Heart, Barbara Streisand, Renee Zellweger, Tim McGraw, and a couple of stars from Saturday Night Live are all born under Taurus. So there. And I have one warning or advice for Jerry and for Brenda, because we only have, let's see, how many I say, 233 days left. New Year's is going to be here before you know it. And everybody's going to be racing for something special to drink, whether it's an alcoholic beverage or not. But Brenda, I'm looking at you, even though I just met you 12 minutes ago, and I'm guessing you might be a Kahlua kind of a gal, some kind of a sweet liqueur. And I'm guessing you're going to make your own Kahlua this year. So Brenda, I'm telling you, it takes a while for those flavors to blend. I would start soon if I were you. I really would. Okay, that's just advice from me to you. Jerry, I'm guessing, and don't be mad at me, I'm guessing there might be a still. Oh, this might be better for Brenda with her family's history in the area. There might be a still from some bootleg whiskey out in the back of your house or near the barn, Jerry. If you want to make some special whiskey for yourself and your friends for New Year's, you got to get started. It takes a while. These are long process drinks, okay? And if either one of you is going to be going online to a special wine and liquor store ordering some special champagne, definitely do it soon, because the shelves are going to be cleared out soon. That's my advice. So now let me tell my audience who my special guests really are. I am amazed at their bios. It's hard to fit it all into a sentence or two, but I'm going to do my best, and then I'll ask each of you to please give us the full story. Brenda Prater-Sellers. She's a serial entrepreneur. She's a philanthropist of the year. She's a community leader and advocate. She has climbed Mount Everest, and there's a story with that. She's a former president of a global manufacturing company. She was Man of the Year in an automotive trade magazine because they didn't have a Woman of the Year category. Brenda, that means you're a game changer and a groundbreaker. And she's the author of You Slept Where? Calamities of a Clumsy Businesswoman. I love the title of your book, Brenda. Just you put it all out there, lady, and we're going to hear from you in just a minute. Brenda, welcome. I'm so delighted to meet you, and thank you for accepting the invitation. And Jerry Morton. Jerry is a storyteller. He's a doctoral level school psychologist. He calls himself a natural psychologist. He's the author of Reluctant Lieutenant from Basics to OCS in the 60s and A School for Healing, Alternative Strategies for Teaching at-Risk Students. And he's a host of a podcast based on his book, Finding My Way, a memoir by Jerry Morton. Jerry, I love the title of your book and your podcast, and you're going to tell us all about it. So I'm Bonnie D, and we're calling this episode Creative Storytelling. So let's get started. Brenda, I would love to hear more about you. I'm putting you on speaker view. Please do me the honor of fully introducing yourself. Brenda, who are you and why are you here? Go ahead.
Well, thank you, Bonnie. And I love your title of Read My Lips. That's hilarious. And you've got a great voice. So thank you for having us today. But I'm actually, like you said, a philanthropist. I did a lot of nonprofits. But all of those businesses, I started my first business at 19. And all of those businesses would not have been successful if I hadn't been creative. So I took that creative theme throughout my whole life. So being creative is exciting, and it's about making at first, having a lot of firsts, and we'll talk about that later, but I've had a lot of firsts in this book business. So thank you for having me.
Oh, we want to know a lot more. Tell me about Man of the Year. Come on, Brenda. And being the president of a manufacturing company, we want to know the details. Come on, dish. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, the Man of the Year was funny because that was back in the day that there were not women in the manufacturing world, with the exception of the models that worked our trade show. So being Man of the Year, I really felt like I had to work harder than most of the men back in the day. So, but things have changed, and I'm really glad that a lot of we dealt with a lot of major customers, AutoZone, Walmart, Advance Auto, Pep Boys, and a lot of those have now female leadership, and I'm really glad about that.
Mount Everest, what was that like?
Well, I didn't die. I said my claim to fame for climbing Mount Everest is that I didn't break a fingernail. I'm not a really big hiker, but I was photographing the wonders of the world. So that's part of the book story too. So I survived the mountain, but I about died in the hotel room, and that's another story.
That's another story. And tell me how you named your book. How did you have the nerve to say Calamities of a Clumsy Businesswoman? That's like target practice on, oh, she's a girl and she's in business. Oh, my goodness. Go ahead. What gave you the moxie to name your book that? It's clever. Go ahead, Brenda.
Well, I think we all need to laugh. And you laughed when you said the title. So that was my first go. And it was something that nobody else had. So that was the whole thing. And I had so much information that I tried to stem it to. It's not just about calamities that crazy places that I've stayed. It's really more about my mother's dementia and my husband, Big Ed, PTSD. So it really resonates with, besides just crazy, bizarre things. But I noticed in all of these different chapters, I was falling or tripping, and so I am pretty clumsy. So, but I think that's funny. I think that's funny that I say it. I'm kind of like the Miss Congeniality meets Clark Griswold's Vacation in her version of planes, trains, and all of that. So that's my book.
Thank you very much. I wanted to know all of that, Brenda. We want to know who you really are. Thank you. And creativity is obviously a theme all the way through, getting through a lot of things, isn't it? And creating this, I call our lives a quilt. My quilt is different from Brenda's, different from Jerry's. Each square is a piece. It could be a day, it could be an hour, it could be a year, it could be a decade of where we were, what we did. All those experiences and memories are represented on that patchwork of the quilt. I came up with that years ago, and I'll tell you later why. So thank you, Brenda. Jerry Morton, I am so happy to have you here. fellow podcaster, and we'd love to hear all about you. So, Jerry, putting you on speaker view, please dish. Who is Jerry Morton?
Well, I'll follow up on the quilt that each of us represent, and all the different communities and situations I've found myself. I get to learn about how other people see the world and interact, and that took place from my earliest childhood. My father was a career Coast Guardsman, so we moved quite a bit. I went to at least eight different public schools. If you count just being there a week or two, maybe longer, many more often. But and then lived in 13 different states over the period of time. The whole creative issue is, when you're a little kid, you learn how you're supposed to behave at this group. But then you move to another group, and their values and ways of behaving are totally different. And they don't want to listen to a little kid tell them, in Granite City, Illinois, boys and girls play together. In Cincinnati, Ohio, I learned in third grade, they'll paddle the daylights out of you if the boys go on the girls' side of the playground, because in Cincinnati, they know that boys are too rough to play with girls. You're not going to argue. This is how these people believe and behave. And that's kind of been a theme for me in the different schools and different environments. I lived in one community in South Milwaukee in Racine County, right on the border, where reportedly I was one of 5 out of 50 kids going to junior high school and high school that hadn't served hard time. I don't know if that's true or not, but that was the belief system. And learning about bullying and how to defend yourself and interact in those ways. Again, gosh, there's all different kinds of ways, the quilt of life. But the underlying issue that keeps coming across into my adult years is that everybody is basically the same. We want to be valued. We want to be treasured. We want to make a contribution. We want to be supported by our social group, and we want to support. We want to be part of this community. Many of these stories that elaborate these points are in the podcast and in the Finding My Way book and the other stuff. Then another issue that keeps unfolding is you plan things, but they don't work out. And you get these terrible situations. And why am I going to do that? I went to graduate school for a master's at Miami of Ohio. And I had this bear of a supervisor working as a graduate assistant with him. And he said, Jerry, someday you're going to be a public speaker. And you have all these idioms, colloquial phrases from all the places you live. You can't do that as a public speaker. I'm going to make you a Midwestern radio announcer quality speaker. What? I'm studying to be a school psychologist. Give me a break. Well, 5 days after I graduate, I'm in the Army. And I made a bad decision. I thought the best way to stay out of combat was to sign up for infantry OCS. Well, as that year of training unfolded, and God, there are a whole lot of funny things that happened that's covered in my stories of that year of training, because I didn't quite fit. And how you're spontaneous and creative in a situation. Well, we'll just cut the corner and get this thing done. And then I had generals looking for me, but then I had sergeants covering for me. And, once again, you're in that culture. They support each other. They value each other within that process. I think I'm going to Vietnam. This is 1967. I'm now a second lieutenant in infantry. And all of a sudden I go to, my orders change. Instead of going in country, I'm to appear before the commandant of the Special Warfare Center. And I appear and he goes, I met with the lieutenant deputy commandant, colonel. And he said, Lieutenant Morton, we're so glad you're here. What? We're so glad you're here. Listen, we're expanding psychological warfare, and we're going to have a brand new staff officers course in psychological warfare. And you're the senior instructing psychologist, and you're to write all the psychology portion of the staff officers course. And your first course is in 2 weeks, so I don't want to keep you too long. So I'm a public speaker now. And what does a person with a master's degree in school psychology know about all of this good stuff? He knows about being kind, about understanding other people's perspectives, and operating with that in a value structure. They let me teach that for 2 years. And here's this guy who at Miami of Ohio is, I'm resenting having his interrupt everything I say. I started stuttering. He corrected me in my speech pattern so often. And all of a sudden, I'm prepared for this off the wall task. And what's my first job after getting out of the Army? Working in all Black schools in St. Petersburg, Florida, being integrated for the first time. Could the Army have trained me better? I was a perfect fit from all those experiences. And the wonderful people I got to work with in those schools. The dedicated Black teachers, the white teachers coming in to work with those kids. Again, these stories are wonderful once you understand the perspectives of the people involved. And then I get admitted to the doctoral program at the University of Tennessee. And all of a sudden I'm hired by the educational co-op, and they're just implementing the special eds laws back in 1973. And I'm setting up special ed systems, school psychology systems for Loudoun, Maryville, Alcoa, Monroe County. What? How does all this work out? But all of the training and valuing of people in diverse cultures works out. And then it evolves, and then I get to train graduate students in their internships and all. And other than that, I've lived a normal life.
You, Jerry, first of all, thank you for your service. You, Jerry, are a groundbreaker, a wall buster. You're a game changer. You're a brave person who seized carpe diem, boys, just like Professor Keating said in Dead Poets Society. That was Robin Williams. I when I mentor sometimes younger women colleagues, when I used to be corporate, I would say to them, if you see a little crack in the window, a little bit of light or the door, push it open and see what's on the other side. Seize that opportunity. See what it could do for you. Don't be afraid. We're no longer, Jerry and Brenda, we're no longer in the one job for life, right? 16 tons, and what do you get? Another day older and deeper in debt. The company man, what was company man was a company woman. We're no longer in that where you're not respected if you don't stay somewhere for 20, 30, 40 years. Look at your path, Jerry. Look at yours, Brenda. I've had about 7 careers. I've done I'm an early woman in tech. I was a mainframe computer programmer analyst back in the 1930s, key punching and doing COBOL on a Xerox Sigma 6 CP5 before Honeywell bought Xerox and it became Honeyox. And PL1 on an IBM 4341, I was running programs for a whole community college district of system for the entire state of Oregon, 2 years out of school. I have a BA in psychology. I never did anything with it. And Jerry, try to figure out what makes people tick. I'm still trying to do that as well. I've been a stand-up comedian. I've done improv. I've created 4 TV shows. I've written three romantic comedy plays and produced them for my TV studio. I've been doing business radio for 15 years, 55 radio series. So we've all, the quilt. Think of the quilts that we are, that represent us, the creativity, Brenda, what you had to do when you were in an industry that really didn't embrace women or didn't even know what to do with you at the time. And Jerry, you kept getting thrown, that window kept opening. And instead of you saying, oh my God, I'm going to run for cover, you kept walking through that door and opening that window and climbing in. And Jerry, your point about context and culture is so important. It's with whom are you dealing? With whom are you speaking? Doesn't matter what their ethnicity is or their religion is or their gender is or their shade of anything or how they speak or where they live. It's all about creating an environment where people can succeed, right, Jerry, and be supported and be valued. Wow, this is a lesson. We just gave a sociology lesson here. I admire both of you. Let's move on. I've asked each of you to pick a lyric from a song or a line from a fictional character in a movie or a TV show that reminds you or relates or reflects to your creativity, your brand of creativity, how it impacts your life. So I'm going to read the quote with a little bit of background and ask you each to explain what it has to do with how creativity impacts your life. Brenda Prater Sellers, you've picked a classic line from a classic movie, The Wizard of Oz, 1939 fantasy musical film produced by MGM. At the time, it was the most expensive movie MGM had ever done. It used Technicolor, fantasy storytelling, musical score, and memorable characters. The Wizard of Oz was nominated for 6 Academy Awards, but it only won two. Best original song for Somewhere Over the Rainbow. I try not to sing, but I can't help it. And the best original score for Herbert Starthart, who wrote the score. It's a classic adaptation of L. Frank Baum's 1900 children's fantasy novel, The Wonderful Wizard of Oz. And I don't know if you know, but Victor Fleming was hired to direct it, but Gone with the Wind was being done at the same time, and it was in trouble. So Victor Fleming walked out on The Wizard of Oz and went to direct Gone with the Wind. And guess what? They both became some of the most iconic classic films ever. Judy Garland, Frank Morgan, Ray Bolger, Burt Lahr, Jack Haley, Billy Berg, Margaret Hamilton. Oh my goodness, my goodness, my goodness. So here's the line you've picked, Brenda. Can't wait to hear you explain this one. Toto, I have a feeling we're not in Kansas anymore. That's not a good Judy Garland impersonation. I'm sorry, Brenda. If you could do better, go ahead. Brenda, talk to me. What does this have to do with you, please?
Well, you asked us to pick a quote, and that quote resonated with me because in my story, I think I'm like Dorothy. I go all over the world. I find all of these experiences, but then I come back home and there's no place like home. So that's what it really resonated with me. And then on top of that, and part of the theme in the book is I have a to-do list, and I had a to-do list of all of the Wizard of Oz places, and they're all over the place. There's Wizard of Oz festivals. There's a lot in Kansas. And so I've done the whole trail and checked off my list all of the Wizard of Oz festivals and things to see in museums, and actually been to the author, where the author has written the books too. So
very, very cool. And you know what? When people on my business shows pick that quote, Brenda, it's usually about with technology, we're not in Kansas anymore. Mm-hmm. Look at how everything has changed. When I was programming back in the 1970s, we didn't have cell phones, but we had computers. When I was the first one in my building, when I was living in Great Neck, New York, first one to get internet, Jerry, I was on AOL, and my neighbors used to come into my apartment and they'd wait to hear the handshake. Do 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 do. You've got mail. My neighbors used to come in. I was the youngest one in this very fancy building, and they used to come in. They say, "What is that, Bonnie?" I say, "Oh, that's AOL. It's welcoming me on the internet." I joined joke lists. It's called the Med Law joke list. I don't even know who these people were. I printed everything out, Brenda. I had a loose leaf folder with all the jokes in it, and I printed them, and I kept them in a folder every day. I'd print out the joke and put it so I could remember it or find it. Everything has changed. My mom passed away in 2017. She lived to 100 years, 1 month and 15 days, and she had a cell phone. She remembered to charge it from time to time, but we got her a Macintosh. And Jerry, she didn't like the Mac, so we got her a PC, and she liked the PC less. So she said, "Give me back the Mac." She, in her 90s, was able to email, to research. She belonged to some senior groups, research news articles online, and she was able to listen to my Monday night radio show online. We bookmarked it for her. listen online, and every Monday night at 8:01 p.m. she called me on the phone and told me what she liked about the show. So she
that's
was
awesome.
able to, is that something we able, and she didn't have an aide or anybody. She said, what are you going to pay an aide for? To watch me to get dressed, get my nails done, get my hair done, play the piano, play mahjong, play cards, entertain my friends. You're going to pay somebody to watch me. So anyway, it was she was a very interesting lady. So thank you for the quote. Love the quote. And let's go to Jerry's quote. Jerry, this is one I wasn't familiar with. The movie is Little Big Man. 1970, character is Jack Crabb with 2 B's, played by the one, the only Dustin Hoffman. A curious oral historian, played by William Hickey, goes to hear the life story of 121-year-old Jack Crabb, played by Dustin Hoffman. Crabb tells of having been rescued and raised by the Cheyenne, of working as a snake oil salesman, as a gunslinger, talk about a quilt, as a mule skinner under General Custer, and claims to be the only white survivor of the infamous Battle of the Little Bighorn. But the line Jerry has picked is from the following. After the Indian village has been attacked, Jack Crabb and the old Indian chief go off to an ancient Indian gravesite where a deceased body can be placed on a raised platform. The chief climbs up on it to lie down and die. He lies down, closes his eyes, and waits for death. The scene in the movie is focused on his face. After several seconds, a drop of rain splats onto one of his Jerry, I'm trying to play the scene here. One of his closed eyelids. Jerry, you can do it for me. The chief slowly blinks. Come on, Jerry, blink, open his eyes, and says, and here's the quote, "I was afraid this was going to happen." He climbs down and he joins Crabb in trudging down the hill. Jerry, that had to be an iconic film, an iconic scene. I've never watched it, but now I want to. Jerry, what does this have to do with you? Go ahead.
Well, it ties in with my monologue about all my experiences. They keep happening. I keep thinking, this doesn't make sense. I don't want to do this. I want to go in this other direction. And then all of a sudden, something else happens that changes the whole scene. And the underlying lesson from my life experiences that is capitalized in that quote is, don't get upset if it doesn't go out as you plan. There's another door opening, to use your analogy. Mm-hmm. There's another path for you to follow. There's another opportunity for you to be of service to others.
That's beautiful. That's absolutely beautiful. Very nicely done. Thank you both for doing that. I appreciate the research you did. And I love researching these quotes. So it always gives me some extra fun to be able to read. Yes, Jerry, there always is opportunities. My career path has been the same way. Doors have opened, or I've kicked them open that I never in a million years expected. Just never. And Brenda, I have a feeling it's been the same for you. You just keep finding those ways to create. And people say, you create the life you want. I don't know if we're creating the life we want. Sometimes we're creating the life that we're supposed to be doing something about it. And Jerry and Brenda, then we figure out, hey, this is pretty good stuff. I didn't know I'd land here. I didn't know I'd do that. So we find out, how can we like it? How can we enjoy it? How can it benefit us and others? But we didn't expect to be there. That's a whole other show. We'll do that another time. Now let's go to your creativity statements. I'm going to pick one or more from each of you, one at a time, and ask you to unpack it. Brenda, you mentioned this when you were introducing yourself, so I have to give you your first statement first. You say, being creative to me means out of the norm to experience firsts. And you put firsts all in capital letters, FIRSTS, for creative solutions. So let's get the firsts. Brenda, go ahead. Jerry can't wait to hear this. Jerry, right? He's ready. Let's go. Jerry, take notes. Go ahead, Brenda.
Well, I guess creativity to me means anybody can do the same old thing. So it's trying to be normal. And in this book business, obviously, in my other businesses, I more knew what I was doing. So I was new to the book business. But trying to have the solution, I was carrying around those 30-pound books, and it was heavy. I was aggravating having to do that. So I came up with, I don't know if you consider it, my first drive-through book signing. And I had, it was a perfect solution for me. I didn't have to carry the books. Secondly, the reader drives up in my driveway, gets the book, doesn't even get out of the car. So it was a very big success. And not only that, I had the police at the bottom. I live on a hill, And I have a Gone with the Wind house. That was my goal as a child, to have a Gone with the Wind house. But the police was at the bottom of the hill, so I had people stopping to see what the commotion was about, and I had volunteers at the bottom of the hill. They were selling books to people I didn't even know. So, but that was just one of the first I had.
Give us another first. I like that one. One more.
Okay. Well, I had that was the first, and then I had another one. Well, let me back up. I really think instead of just having a book signing, I try to look at it like what would help the customer or the business. I ended up doing a display that had books. So if you can see this or not, had books, and I took that to places not only independent bookstores, but Merle Norman. I mentioned Merle Norman in my book. I have a barbecue place, a small town barbecue in Friendsville. And I took those books and I put M&Ms in the front of it. The reader just grabs the books. They can Venmo me. They can drop in the back as a little piggy bank. It was just a creative way. But as an incentive, I would put on social media, hey, go to Merle Norman. Hey, go to our 3 independent bookstores in Black County to get a book. And then they get an in-store $25 gift coupon for going by to get a book. So it helps the customer, it helps the reader, and it helps me. It helps me to get people into the store. So that was another first. The other first was we have an old castle in Alcoa. And so I came up with the idea of coming up with, instead of a book sign, it's an event. Like, oh, come to the book signing, bring your kids, have them dressed up like medieval, bring your princesses, bring your knights in shining armor. Guess what? The Millennium Manor Castle had a record-breaking people that came the day for the opening day because it was an event. They came, the children came, I gave free M&Ms and then signed books. So that was just one of the many firsts that I had.
Brenda, Brenda. Jerry, any comments other than wow?
I driving to Alcoa, one of the school systems that we worked with through the co-op, I'd go by that building, that castle.
Yeah.
And it was abandoned, grass overgrown and all this stuff. And for her to come up with this creative idea that really ties in everybody else and allows them to be creative themselves and part of the surrounding land is just, I just admire you, Brenda. Your thoughts are so marvelous. Thank you.
Absolutely. There is a thank you there, Brenda, probably from the people who experienced it as well as you, but also I know you're a member of AGT, the Authors Guild of Tennessee. You're giving ideas to other authors. And on many of my shows, on my Monday Night Read My Lips radio show, I talk to mostly self-published authors. And the question is, I talked to Cheryl Payton about this recently, the big publishers aren't doing for authors what they used to do. They are not marketing your book. You are not getting spine view in a bookstore, major bookstore. You are not getting what you thought, oh, big publisher wants me. You're still doing your own marketing. So the question is, as Brenda says, out of the box, creativity, be different. Carpe diem, seize the second, the moment, the day, the hour, surprise. Isn't it the element of surprise, Brenda? Look, we're in front of a castle and we're dressing up and we've got M&Ms. And by the way, we're signing books. I mean, think of all the elements. Jerry, think of all the elements she put into that. There's a model there. Brenda, are you teaching this stuff to other authors?
Well, it is funny. I've had 4 people ask me to write a book about how to market the book because, but I think if people think about, instead of just trying to be a self-serving author to try to sell your books, I ended up looking to see what you can do for others. At our Blount Memorial Hospital, I was born in Blount Memorial. So what I did, I took this picture of me. This is my baby picture.
Hold it up steady. Hold it steady.
Okay, can you see that?
Cute. Yes, well, perfect.
I was born at Blount Memorial Hospital. I put a cell phone in my hand because it looked like I'm holding a cell phone. But what I did was bring people in because that our gift shop helps individuals that need medications and that they don't have the way to pay for medicine for their children. So that gift shop helps these people that need the medication. So we had, hey, don't only come and see the author, but come and buy. And I had the Valentine's. It was Valentine's weekend, and they ended up buying Valentine's cards, and we had a reading of the book. We had trivia. Also gave out gift prizes to get people into the gift shop. Guess what? It's record-breaking sales that day for the gift shop. So it not only gave people that were there in the hospital, people came by, they got a book, they got a Valentine's card, and it helped the gift shop, and it helped people to get their medicine.
Yeah.
It was a win-win solution, and a first ever to have a book signing at the hospital.
Jerry, what do you think?
It's just she triggers so many thoughts. Blount County has one of the few areas that has a program for these seriously disabled children who, once they reach 21, the school systems by law can't continue to spend public money to serve them. And these kids just enjoy, they're in a wheelchair, they can't speak, but they can use a computer to communicate. And these kids really enjoy the social environment of the school. And the kids are nice to them that are walking by and call them by name and all of this stuff. And then at 21, they're through. Yeah. And the GATE program brings these young adults together for social activities, and they have a Valentine's celebration and fundraiser. And I'm thinking you could help both Blount early childhood medication birthing, and then when these children are young adults that still need help and social integration. And it'd be wonderful to get you together with all those.
I volunteer. I know exactly who they are. So they actually have that fundraiser of desserts. And I love candy, love sweets. So they do it. That's their big fundraiser of desserts.
Yeah,
so yes,
yeah.
I'm very familiar with them.
I was on the original board that put that together.
Yes, it's amazing. Thank you. And thank you for your service too.
Oh,
I'm just going to say wow to both of you. You're impressive to begin with. Your bios were impressive. Your personalities are impressive. But the work you're both doing, the creative out of the box work and your dedication to helping people is wonderful. It's just, you're touching me. I didn't expect this. I thought I was just talking to two authors about how do you do your book and all that. So that's why I like this forum, Brenda and Jerry, because we get to know each other and we get to share ideas. So very special to me. So Jerry, it's your turn. I have picked your statement, creativity statement number 2. I like this. And let's see if this resonates with Brenda. You say, I experience creativity in flashes of thoughts that I need to find ways to retain. When I'm zoned into those thoughts and writing them down, I find that I have lost all contact with time and the stimuli around me. Jerry, this is lovely. Tell us more, please.
Well, with the educational co-op, I'm constantly was involved with writing grants. God, it's so meticulous.
Mm-hmm.
And the probability of getting it funded are low, with the federal government and the state government. And all of a sudden, I'm into really trying to get this idea across and writing it, and everybody's left the office. Where'd the day go? You just lose track of time. And I think that's being engaged in the moment, not trying to change things, but trying to communicate what is going on and what would be helpful to get done to be put together. A random thought that I often argue or try to promote is that everybody's creative.
Yep.
But our social pressures, our sense of self-doubt suppress the expression of that. But the basic nature of being a human being is to be creative. If you fantasize, and the both of you know much more about technology than I do, you can have computers and robots vacuuming your house and all of these things, and putting cars together. So people don't have a job. All these things are doing. What are they going to do? They're going to be creative. They're going to do what's in their heart to do. And it's all right if they say, I just need to zone out for a little while. And, a year later, I got a great idea and I could do this thing. And that whether or not it's going to be a commercial success isn't the issue. The issue is this is an expression of one more aspect of being a human being and sharing with others, and in turn learning on that patch quilt that you referenced, learning how we all make this mosaic that is this wonderful quilt of being human.
I don't know what to say. I'm almost in tears. This is beautiful. Your statement resonated with me because a couple of months ago for my Monday Night Read My Lips show, I found the following quote. David Byrne is the former frontman of the Talking Heads band. He's a songwriter, and he was interviewed on a podcast called How Ideas Happened by writer Stephen Johnson. And the question was, how do you find inspiration and develop it into songs? And Jerry and Brenda, this is what I read in the article. And Jerry, this is going to hit the notes you just hit. He says, sometimes I have just the title of a song that comes to me and I write it down and I go, expand on that. I think there's something there. And I have my computer here, a whole lot of musical ideas that maybe have a melody, a nonsense word melody, awaiting the words. But usually I need something to start with. It's hard to start from nothing. I'll accumulate these, and this is what he says. He calls them very little beginnings. I'll accumulate these very beginnings, and when I come back, I've got something to build on. And then the comment by the writer was, our minds fizz with fragments of ideas, puzzles to ponder, clues on how to fix a problem. Most of us undervalue that chatter. Writers and artists systematically capture the little beginnings. Is that cool, Brenda and Jerry? Was that something?
That's right.
I just love that. I put that in my notes to read on some of my radio shows because I think it resonates with all of us. The question is, what do you do with those fragments? What do you do with those little bits and pieces? Oh, I think I'll do this. What did I do? Did I write it down? Do I put it on the computer? I put a sticky note? Do I have it on a desk somewhere in a drawer? Is it written in the inside of a book somewhere? Where did I put it? What was it? And those things are worth keeping, aren't they? They're part of the collage of our creative. Oh, I like that, Jerry. I do collage. I'm a painter, artist, and I'm into collage work now. So I save everything, packages and cookie wrappers. No, I don't eat cookies. Yeah, right, Bonnie. Anyway, everything gets saved as a possible mixed media for a collage that would represent something. So thank you for that, Jerry. You both have done so much to enlighten me and everybody who's going to see this. But we have a little more time. Jerry, go ahead, because I want to read some famous birthdays. Go ahead, Jerry.
One of the, as we noted, I'm a storyteller.
Yeah.
And sometimes I've noted a way I can tell I've been going on too long telling a story to someone is they start snoring.
Okay.
I hear there's a cure for that. Brenda, there's probably a snore clinic at the hospital. You can help Jerry Jerry can bring his. Jerry, I would never fall asleep when you're telling a story because you're charming. So there you go. Jerry is the antidote to boring stories. You don't tell them, Jerry. Shame on anybody who starts to snore. That's their problem. I told you before we started, the both of you, that I have some famous birthdays, but they're in memoriam. There are three people who are giants in the entertainment field in different aspects. One is a comedian, one is a movie star, and one is a songwriter. Okay, I think you're going to be surprised. All three of these people were born on this day in different years. They all passed away years ago. One of them just this year. George Carlin was born on May 12th, 1937. Listen to this, the greatest stand-up comedian of all time. He did 14 stand-up comedy specials for HBO. He was the first host of Saturday Night Live in 1975, and he won the Mark Twain Prize for American Humor in 2008 after he passed away that year. Okay, so one of the greatest comedians. Now put that on the scorecard. Next, who was born today who's passed away? Katharine Hepburn. May 12th, 1907, lived to 2003, age 96. She is named the greatest actress in Hollywood history by AFI, the American Film Institute, in 1999. She set a record by winning 4 Academy Awards for Best Actress. 4. Morning Glory in 33, Guess Who's Coming to Dinner in 67, The Lion in Winter 68, and On Golden Pond in 81. So we have the greatest comedian, the greatest actress, and then we have Burt Bacharach, who was born this day in 1928 and died this year, 2023, in February 8th. American composer, songwriter, record producer, pianist, widely regarded as one of the most important and influential figures of 20th century pop music. He composed hundreds of songs, many in collaboration with Hal David. His music has unusual chord progressions. If you're a musician, he has a background in jazz, uncommon selections. Talk about creativity, Jerry. Uncommon selections of instruments for small orchestras. He arranged, conducted, and produced most of the records he put out. There you go. So we have a comedian, an actress, and a songwriter, a composer, songwriter, musician, all the greatest in their fields, and they were all born today. So anybody who wants to birth brilliant kids, I'd say figure it out. Also, still alive, we have Tony Hawk, who is the skateboarder, sports icon. He also has a video game series. Talk about being creative. He's 54 today. The new Prime Minister of the UK, I'm not doing politics, Rishi Sunak, 42, born today, leader of the Conservative Party. And then we have another famous actor very much with us, Rami Malek, the Academy Award winning. He played Elliot Alderson in the series Mr. Robot, and you all know him from playing Freddie Mercury in the 2018 film Bohemian Rhapsody, just a couple of years ago. That was Rami Malek. He also played Benjamin in the final Twilight film. And Emilio Estevez, his claim to fame, other than being an actor, he's the brother of Charlie Sheen. He's the son of Martin Sheen, and he's the ex-husband of Paula Abdul. So that's, guilt by association there. I have 2 social media stars who are going to knock your socks off, and they're having birthdays today. One is named Sedona Prince. She's a girl, 22 years old, TikTok. You ready for this, Brenda and Jerry? She only has 2.8 million followers. Only. She creates comedy and dance videos, and she is a basketball player. And that's what she posts. So 2.8 million followers. Then I have one more. His name is Cyprien, Cyprien. He's a YouTube creator. He is French. He does comedy vlogs and sketches. He did a school video that got 57 million views in the past 10 years. He has a clothing line of his own. Okay, Jerry, talk about brand. Jerry, it's time for you to have a clothing line. And you ready for this? He only has 14 million subscribers. Brenda, what are these kids doing? What did we miss? Today, holidays, International Day of Plant Health. Are you a plant person, Brenda? You keep plants or you kill them?
Well, I'm a farmer's daughter, so I can appreciate
You're good with plants. What about you, Jerry? Plants?
Yeah, I work on plants and learn to adjust.
I have a lot of plants. I love plants. I love trees. It's National Anthony Day today. If you know anybody named Anthony or Tony, give them a shout out. It's Limerick Day, and I didn't have time to write a limerick, but if you all do, you can send it to me. It's National Nutty Fudge Day. Do you like your fudge with nuts, Jerry?
Yes, black walnuts that get them before the squirrels do.
It's Public Gardens Day. It's called Public Gardens Week, and this is the biggest week in American birding. And I'll tell both of you that the birds are here. I have cardinals that come to my office window right outside my office here and sit and say hello in the window. I have bluebirds that come. I have sparrows that come, and I take pictures of them. So I become a birding photographer. Any advice to somebody who says, and I meet people like this all the time, I'm not creative.
Well, I think everybody has an idea, but I think Jerry hit it on there. Everybody can have an idea, but it's like, what are you doing with that idea? And everybody's got a brain, so everybody's thinking. So I don't buy the fact that they're not creative, because everybody can bring something to the table. So we used to do an exercise at work that, it's like we had it's how you have an idea. Like if we have a list of birds, well, you can name 4 birds, I can name 5, Jerry can name 6. Well, then once you start naming those birds, you can get a list. So if those people that say they're not creative, if they just have one little spark that sparks that idea, then that idea can blossom.
Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful. Plants blossoming, birds. Yes. Lovely. Jerry, what's your suggestion on creativity to people who say, I'm not creative?
Well, I'm going to follow up with Brenda. When all of these different people do something different, acknowledge it. Thank them for it. Encourage them. If they say something funny, let them know not only is it funny, but golly, that just hit the spot for me on something else I was thinking about. You know, we are facilitators. We understand the blocks, and also let us be the remover every chance we get when we see that which we all need so desperately, that everybody's idea to make this a better world, which both of you have done. Thank you so much for making this world a better place.
You're very, very kind. I'm very honored to meet both of you. I'm very impressed, as I said to you in the beginning, but getting to know you this way even more. And we'll chat after the end of the show. But I have a couple of closing remarks to share with both of you. I do this on my Monday night Read My Lips radio show, and I'm going to share these with you. So here we go. I think this will resonate with both of you. Life is short. Break the rules. Forgive quickly. Kiss slowly. Love truly. Laugh uncontrollably. Brenda and Jerry, join me in a quick laugh. Jerry, I want to hear you laughing. Come on. I always think I should do that at the beginning of the show. And never, ever regret anything that made you smile. And here's the final closing. Work like you don't need the money, because nobody else really cares. It has to mean something to you. Dance like no one's watching. When I was teaching disco to 250 students in a cafeteria in Eugene, Oregon, and they made me teach it on a Formica cafeteria table, and I was wearing high heels. I said to them, I won't fall this time, but you better have a wooden stage for me next week, okay? So dance like no one's watching, but everybody watched me. They were waiting for me to fall. No, they just thought I looked good. Sing like nobody's listening. I tried not to sing. I hope I didn't offend anybody. And love like you've never been hurt, because we all have. Get past it. Get over it. Let your heart regenerate. Let your heart grow to love again. Money talks, chocolate sings, la. And last but not least, and I stole this line from another radio host, thank you for turning me on. Bonnie D, aka Radio Red.
We wish you a positively cool, creative week.